out at food, 192 of 200 compared to the 136 of HuK. IdrA could perhaps even keep these Corruptors just to take on the Colossi, and then later change them over to Broodlords once the Colossi are down. See IdrA spreading more and more creep here. And again, creep on a large map like this, so important, especially with that Hydra and Roach tech. They're quite slow off of creep, and they're able to get into that that great concave DPS shape when they are on the creep just a little bit faster. Looks like HuK pushing out here. He does see that creep spreading for IdrA, so he knows that a base is being thrown down here, has an observer as well. And pushing out with these Colossus, IdrA preparing his ball of units, just Hydralisks, Roaches, and then a few Corruptors, 6,100, now 199 compared to the 4,200 of HuK. And HuK having to retreat with those Corruptors and the Hydralisks. The Corruptors from the air should be able to pick off one of these Colossus, but it looks like they're going to retreat backwards here. And IdrA just going to defend and be very passive, get up another base, and really take the opportunity to mass a lot of minerals. He's got 1,800 saved up, so what he wants to do is engage HuK in a 200-200 battle, and then immediately reinforce with a lot of units off of the saved larva and the extra minerals he has been banking. HuK trying to get a few free kills there with those extended thermal lance Colossus with the 9 range. Looks like a number of pylons are coming down as well as cannons, so going to try to prevent any sort of Zergling pressure on this base. So HuK on 3 bases right now. IdrA is on 4. He's not yet saturated this 4th one. Possibly a smart move, as any battle might jeopardize those drones. If we check out the army tab, HuK working towards max, and it's closed the gap a little bit. We do see Broodlords out for IdrA. He has a number of Corruptors as well, so keeping those so he can react to those Colossi. So you see those Broodlings kind of pausing in midair there on the map for some reason. And now going to try to soften up these Colossi. Again, the Broodlords with the 9.5 range, able to outrange most everything that the Protoss has. HuK's going to have to choose a point here to push out and try to break the Zerg player. He's going to have Blink Stalkers trying to take down those Broodlords, able to focus one down. So HuK just letting his cannons do work on those Broodlings as they come out. Really a waste to have those Colossi taking on those Broodlings when they do engage. HuK wants to make sure he's focus firing his Colossi, as he now has 7 of them on the field, on those Hydralisks and then the Roaches secondary. Blinkstalker is going to try to get into position to focus down these Broodlords. IdrA losing another Broodlord, so I do not believe he's doing too much damage here. If we check out the resources, now has 2,700 compared to the 700 of HuK, and we'll do a quick tour of his base. He's got a lot of larvae saved up. He's got at least 2 pages of larvae, as these two armies are about to collide. So IdrA's got all this larvae saved up. So as soon as he starts losing units, he's going to be able to immediately reinforce. Now trying to take down a number of units from HuK. We check out the army tab. Both armies relatively equal at this point, but again, IdrA has all those larvae banked up. We see it pushing out here, getting a good concave with those Hydralisks. The Colossi are not able to all attack for HuK up that ramp, and it looks like HuK losing a lot of his army there. Lost about 50 supply. IdrA just losing just a few supply, and has a number of reinforcing units on their way. More Corruptors, more Roaches. HuK setting up a 4th while both armies are at this position, so good play on his part. He knows that IdrA has the majority of his force here, and he's going to be wanting to hold this 4th expansion, so HuK taking the rest of the map. Again, up to 8 Colossi at this point, so they're going to be very good against the Hydralisks, which are quite low HP, but we see IdrA now creating more and more Broodlords and Roaches. Those Roaches a little sturdier than their Hydralisk friends. Checking out the upgrades of both players, we see 2-0 for the Zerg player, and we see 2-0 for IdrA as well. Does also have 1 attack upgrade for air. So IdrA positioning a number of spine crawlers, going to make this position very difficult for the Protoss player to breach, especially with this ramp here. He can possibly blink up, but the Colossi are all going to be running into each other, trying to get up that ridge. As we did see, they pushed against these units earlier on, and they were just not able to make any sort of dent. IdrA trying to do a little bit of harassment with these Broodlords. So both players kind of in a stalemate at this point with these max armies. IdrA again has higher minerals, 1600 compared to the 300 of HuK. We see another blink from these Stalkers, able to quickly focus down that Broodlord. So not really sure what IdrA wants to accomplish here. Perhaps trying to focus down these cannons. He's able to take one down, but he's losing Broodlords for almost every cannon he's able to take down. So now we see a storm coming in. HuK has researched and is on all the different varying tech paths at this point. Also getting the observer speed. IdrA pushing out more and more Broodlords. Another blink from these Stalkers taking down another Broodlord. So one of these players needs to break this stalemate and try to push into the base of the opposing player. See both players just adding more and more upgrades to their army. IdrA getting the attack level 2 for flying and attack level 3 for ground. Templar being positioned at the front. If they're able to be focused down by these Hydralisks, could be very powerful. We see storms going off at the front, so trying to get storm coverage on all of these units. IdrA taking massive damage from those storms. HuK taking a lot of damage as well, as those Hydras and Roaches, very good DPS. And both players around 150 army. IdrA has a lot of reinforcements coming, 20 Roaches and 2 Broodlords. That is the power of the Zerg player. All those bank larvae, have to believe that he's been keeping up with his injects this entire time. He's also spread to a 5th base, though it is not yet saturated, getting minor saturation on this 4th. If we check out the income of both players, 49 Harvesters for IdrA compared to the 80 of HuK. So this is going to mean that IdrA's army is going to be potentially a lot larger than HuK's, as he's about 33 food less in the Harvester count. That's going to be more and more Hydralisks, Roaches, and Broodlords he can add. Looks like HuK moving probes, transferring over, perhaps getting another base set up, but there is a Zergling bird at all these bases, so no more expansions for HuK without IdrA knowing. Just doing more harassment with these Broodlords. Could perhaps bring some Queens down here for some transfuses, spend some of those minerals. He is keeping quite low on minerals, which is impressive with all the larvae and the mining he has going on. We do see HuK perhaps going to get a cannon up here to take out the Zergling, and then going to place a Nexus there. So IdrA may be pushing out. HuK has actually retreated his army a bit to the center of the field. These Colossus able to traverse this Shakuras Plateau map quite easily, even with all the ledges, just because of that wall walk. Now going to be taking this last cannon is IdrA, and now going to be focusing on this base here, taking down a number of pylons, hoping to supply cap HuK. HuK has created enough pylons around the map, though, that just one or two will not hurt him too badly. Now he is going to be pushing across the field. The Zerg has most of the units in the center, but IdrA really needs to pull back all those Broodlords before HuK advances. Blink Stalkers blinking backwards, going to allow those Roaches and Hydras to work themselves into a concave so that these Colossi can take them on. Again, 8 Colossi on the field, and IdrA is going to have to come out with a number of Corruptors to try to take those on. More and more Broodlords coming for the Zerg player, and HuK now retreating back once again, doing a little bit of long distance mining while his Nexus comes up. And we see IdrA is higher in the income right now. And a little bit of commentary from IdrA there. I'm not sure what he's complaining about. Roaches and Hydralisks, not very expensive units. But I think he was hoping to do some economic damage and be annoying with those Broodlords, bank up some resources, and just be able to try to outproduce HuK. But HuK coming in with some good storms, able to take down a lot of those Hydralisks in the back, and soften up those Roaches in the front. IdrA finding this very amusing, and now these Colossus are going to be able to come in here and finish off the units of IdrA. If we check out, the army count is plummeting for IdrA, and gives a little bit of commentary on what the game can possibly do with itself. But I do not know why he did not push out down this ramp a little bit earlier. He was playing a little bit too defensively there, especially when he had all those banked larvae and minerals. He really could have softened up HuK's army and then recreated a lot of extra roaches and hydralisks, and then pushed out once again. But he was just able to allow HuK to get up to this critical number of colossi, 8 colossi here, and then he also got out the storm tech, which is, both techs, colossi, and storms quite good against the hydralisks and the roaches. So IdrA raging quite a little bit here, not too bad. And again, these two players have met a number of times and practiced together, so they are quite mannered towards each other at this point. So I'm sure HuK taking all that in stride and just happy to beat his opponent here. So pretty good one on Shakur's Plateau. From this Korean server, we see HuK open up with that Stargate, and it forced the hydralisks from IdrA, and then he was able to react with these storms and the colossi, and eventually push out across the field with good numbers of each and take down IdrA. So thanks for watching this one. Take care.